Welcome everybody. Today's video finds us over here in Ayutthaya. We're north of the former city island and we're out here on what they used to call like the Tung Kwan Plain. And as you can see behind me, it's a pretty flat area. So there would have been a lot of rice paddies and this area would have been subject to flooding and all of that, kind of like most of Ayutthaya over here. Anyway, this is a former royal temple that we're going to look at that was built probably in the middle Ayutthaya, somewhere around like 1560 or so. They don't really know exactly because most of the records were destroyed out here. But it was built by the last king before the White Elephant War, King Chakkraphat or something like that. Anyway, it's named after a guy that was in charge of like escorting his princess up to Vientiane to marry the Laotian king, and up there in Vientiane. And there's a little bit of a story to that. We'll talk about it while we walk around here. But this temple was also pretty important to King Setthathirat. Anyway, he's the one, the usurper that took over from King Narai. And anyway, he restored this around like 1690 or so. And it used to be really important. It was abandoned after the fall of Ayutthaya in 1767. And we'll walk around through the ruins today and enjoy this. Anyway, I missed this part. I was over here about 2.5 years ago, and there's a humongous rectangular building that had a walkway around it. I'm not sure what the functionality of it, but it's just over here, kind of the western part of the temple grounds, and it's right over there where like the floodplain is at and stuff like that. So I don't know what they did here, but there's a walkway to where they could have circled it. I don't know if this was like a moondrop or what this was up on the top of it, but it's just over here kind of on its own. But you can see the size of it, and it has 3 levels to it. And they talk about a chetty on the sign. There's a little data plate over here, but it just calls it a rectangular building with the walkway. And it is way over here on the side of the temple grounds. This temple was pretty massive. So you can see all of this is kind of the flat land, and you can see the perimeter wall and a few other little buildings. We'll look at the bell tower and then we'll go up into the main part of the ruin. And this is the outer wall of the temple. And you can see the standing water here, and then there's a couple more small little buildings that would have been right here. The bell tower is quite nice. It's got a cool lotus bud design up over the top of it. And this is the bell tower. So it's 4.3 meters tall. It's quite large. You can see a little bit of the stucco that's still on it. It's in great shape. Now there's no entrance, so they probably would have had to climb up like a wooden ladder to get up there to ring the bell. And it's just sitting over kind of north of the temple itself. But you can see over there, that's the main building we'll take a look at. And it's really a nice shape for a ruin kind of out here in the middle of nowhere. So you got kind of a little bog area here. And then this would have been the way into the temple from this side. This would have probably been all part of the canal and the moat. And now it's just kind of a boggy area. This would have been maybe like a chetty right here. So the King Phraya Maen, I think is how you say his name, he was what they call the usurper king. He was like a minister, and then he took over power from King Narai. King Narai was king, and he had kind of his royal palace and stuff up in Lopburi. And kind of what inspired me to come over to this temple today is I was just in Lopburi and made a few videos, and we were at the King Narai palace, and I talk a little bit about Phraya. And but anyway, whenever he took over power, he was like, he had a holy man that told him that he would become like a sole ruler and would have access to all the wealth of Ayutthaya. And that ruler was, or that holy man was over here at this temple. And so anyway, he saw this as a lucky omen, and he donated a lot of money to this temple. And they restored it, renovated it, built all the new buildings and stuff like that. And so anyway, I was over there at that, so I decided to come here and take a look at this temple. I haven't been here in a long time. Now, after they renovated this temple in like 1690, or whatever under Phet Racha. He came to this temple personally. They ordained 300 monks to come over here to lead the chanting ceremony, and he came personally by the canal that is right over there. So he came to this temple, and then they had a multi-day celebration. And he also, it was right after he became king, he also had to go down to Nakhon Si Thammarat and put down a rebellion in the south, because they saw him as the usurper because he took over from King Narai. So he put down the rebellion, and then that was part of his celebration up here. This is a really nice site. This ordination hall is in fantastic shape. We'll go up in there here in a sec. Let's look at these little prongs, and then we'll go into that. And we have a million dogs out here. Wonder if in the evening they might get a little territorial. Right now is a pretty good time to come over and take a look. So here's a couple prong-shaped chetties. That one's missing the top right there. Oh, but they're quite nice. And it has the little, like, alcove things there. They would have put some images in them. And then they would have had a standing Buddha up there at the top. And you could have the stairs you could go up, and you could walk around the prong. We could see over here, this is east of that, the ordination hall that we were just looking at. So they would have came up by the canal here, and then what they did is they built this retaining wall, and there's entrances on the east and on the west. So they built this up to get it raised up above this plain due to, you know, the flooding and everything. And then they hauled in dirt, bricks, and they built that up, and then they built the outer wall right here up on this little elevated platform that they built. So this would have been a little arch that would have came over, and you would have came into it right here. And then they would have had several other little buildings here that you can't see anymore. They're just down to the base. And then same over here. And then you would have saw those two prongs and then the ordination hall. Now the Ayutthaya king that had this built originally, the man that it was named after was in charge of 1,000 men. And what they were doing was they were sending his daughter up to marry the king in Laos to combine the two kingdoms. It was kind of like an alliance. And so Chalawamat, or whatever his name was, he sent another daughter, like what they say is like a less desirable daughter. And the Lao king got word of the ruse, and it almost caused fighting over here. So he decided to send his number one daughter up there to marry him. And the Burmese caught wind of the daughter heading up there to Laos, and they sent their army down, and they intercepted the party, and they captured the daughter along with all the men and the dowry. And there was no records of what happened to her. She was sent into Burma, which is modern-day Myanmar, and she was never heard from again. And then later on, the Burmese captured the city. The city capitulated in what they call the White Elephant War. And then he was removed from power, and he was sent into bondage also. And what's cool is they have the little landing right here, so they would have been able to go down into the canal. And the size of the bricks is pretty cool. They're using those little 8-hole bricks that you don't see too often. They're a really big brick, and they have the 8 holes where they would poke the holes in it whenever they fired them in the kiln, so they would bake evenly. All right, let's go into this ordination hall. This one it's the highlight of this whole temple. It's really a fantastic building. We can see all the styling. So this was definitely Ayutthaya styling. And it would have been middle Ayutthaya when it was originally built, and then all the restorations would have been late Ayutthaya. And you can see it has 3 entrances, so this would have been a royal temple, like I said at the start. So the king and his entourage would have been able to use the middle entrance, and then the lay people would have to use the 2 side. And you can see what's left of the plasterwork and the detailing here around. And then later on, they did this as like a boat. It would have been bowed in the middle. But the middle Ayutthaya, that wasn't a common styling. But you can see how all the brickwork and plasterwork all around here is just really in fantastic shape. And they would have had the faux columns here that would have had like the flower up on the top. Really cool. And these are some quite steep stairs. Normally they're not this steep and they're a little shorter, but this one here has a huge steep entrance to get inside. And then it's quite a raised platform here also. Oh, these stairs are coming apart. I'll have to be careful getting off here. You can see where it's settled right there, caused that stairwell to break off, and the floor has got a big hole in it. It's kind of doing the same thing over here. Oh, what a great hall. So you can see where they had the cross beams to go across. Got a couple trees growing in there. And then they have all these little nooks right here. Same as those prongs, so they could have put images in there, or they could have put like oil lamps to get this to glow, light up at nighttime for certain ceremonies. And then the same around the base. It's really a nice hall in fantastic shape. And there's just tons of those little recesses right there. And then they have 4 windows here with 1 more in the back, so a total of 5 windows across the north and the south walls. You can see the Buddha that's sitting right here, what's left of it. Now, when I came to this temple before, I came here like 2.5 years ago or so, and it was quite funny because I was here just filming, and the next thing you know, the farmer had pushed all of his cows in here, and I'm like standing there, and this cow almost like runs right into me, and it was like, okay. It was quite comical. But there's no cows here today, just me and the bricks. All right, so we'll go out to the west side of this, and these stairs are very steep. So we had a chetty here, and 2 smaller little prong-type chetties, and then a base of another building right there. This would have been an octagonal chetty, and you can see the square platform that it's on, with a little bit of the stucco work on it, and then 2 smaller little satellite chetties or auxiliary chetties, and this would have probably been a wehan over here. Yeah, you can see how fantastic this building is, and it still has a little bit of the wood up there from, it would have had like a balcony or like a walkway around it, and all that wood is just kind of rotted away. And then you can see how they have like kind of a chetty style over the doors. Really cool. So you can see these 2 identical chetties right here. It's really a nice design. Now it says it's surrounded by 3 lion limbs, and then it has the bell-shaped element right there, and then up at the top is kind of like a fence-like enclosure that they say represents a throne. And this was a late Ayutthaya style design. And you can see a little bit of the plaster work still remaining right there. Really quite cool. Yeah, I'm not sure what they're talking about as far as like the lion limbs. I don't know if that's these right here. If you know, you could tell me in a comment down below. You can see this is really a nice example of the late Ayutthaya styling. And then this is the last of the little buildings here. These are just down to the base. So there would have been 3 small little, maybe chetties right there, and then a bigger one. And then this would have had the moat going all the way around it. And then all that other stuff we looked at over there, and the bell tower. And that square building is on the other side of those trees, that first thing we looked at. And then this is the last look here at this ordination hall. This is definitely one of the best you'll see right here. This one is just unbelievably nice. And you can see where they had the notches right there for the balcony that would have came off the front of it. Just a beautiful example of the Ayutthaya architecture, and it's in really nice shape. Yeah, really worth your time. And then the moat and everything else. That'll finish our video over here at this Wat Phraya Maen, or Phraya Maen. This is a nice temple. It's out here in the middle of nowhere. There's a couple houses and stuff like that around it, and then you'll see like the guys that'll have the cows and stuff like that. If you come over here in the evening, the kids will come over. They play soccer, football out here on this little floodplain, and they do their thing. It's just part of the community. It's one of those things. They live right next to this old historic temple, so it's just kind of that big building out there in their backyard, and just part of the area. So anyway, if you have any questions about this temple, or if you know more about it than I do, please definitely tell me in a comment down below. This is where nobody comes out to. I mean, I'm the only one here and just having a good time. I really like this. So if you know more, let me know in a comment down below, or if you have any questions, ask me and I'll do my best to answer them. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. This is what I do. I show things like this. And if you like this kind of content, then you're in the right place. And definitely smash the like button. And until next time, from over here in Ayutthaya, remember, life is a journey. Until next time, enjoy.